And welcome to this April 27, 2026 Committee of the Whole meeting of the Village of Lake Bluff Village Board of Trustees. Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee El-Shamaz?
Here.
Trustee Renner?
Here.
Trustee Ryder?
Here.
Thank you. Next is our non-agenda items and visitors for public comments. The Committee of the Whole allocates 15 minutes for those individuals who would like the opportunity to address the Committee of the Whole on any matter not listed on the agenda. Each person addressing the Committee of the Whole is asked to limit their comments to a maximum of 5 minutes. And we are adding to this statement, the Committee of the Whole very much values public comments. And to the extent your public comment is a question or requires further investigation, village staff will follow up with you outside of this meeting. Time for non-agenda public comments is not intended to be a question and answer session or for committee deliberations. But the COW may, at its discretion, choose to answer questions or discuss non-agenda items. We appreciate your understanding and look forward to the comments. I do not see any comments in the room. Do we have anybody who
Nobody's raising their hand online.
And I say we go forward. Next is item 4, general business. The Committee of the Whole will entertain requests from anyone present to modify the order of business to be conducted.
Nobody has sent any request to modify.
Okay. So next are minutes from the April 13, 2026 COW. Is there a motion to approve these minutes?
So moved.
Second. Thank you. Are there any changes to these minutes? Any typos? I said no's. Clerk, please call the roll.
It's a voice vote.
It's a voice vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And the motion carries. Thank you. Next is a discussion regarding the village special event and flag display policy. So this conversation follows the conversation we had 2 weeks ago, at the same time 2 weeks ago. I recognize that for many of us, these discussions that started last year are quite fresh and difficult. To this day, it is for me. This is a challenging conversation, and as we're working to balance competing interests, I hope we can reach consensus. We did pretty good 2 weeks ago, but we need to finish this conversation. There might not be a perfect solution to this conversation, and we will do our best. Tonight, I would really like to reach a discussion to this meeting. We are so close, and so I will guide the conversation accordingly. And I will be very pragmatic on this subject. And as we discussed last time, a subcommittee, Susan and Kat, Drew and Peter, was formed to prepare for this issue. True.
So where we left off at the last meeting, Village Attorney Friedman and myself put together 2 draft documents. One is an ordinance amending the municipal code regarding the special event permit regulations, and happy to answer any questions about that. And then we also put together a draft display policy. And again, if everybody remembers from the last conversation, there wasn't as much clarity or consensus around that necessarily as much as there was for the special event permit, and that was really to reduce the duration of permits down to the general consensus. I heard it was 1 to 3 days. There's 3 days in here. That can be modified if there's direction to do so, as well as we put some clarifications just to be sure that we can accommodate certain events that lasted longer than 3 days. But not every event, but it was something that fit most of the ones that have historically been happening on the Village Green, namely Artists on the Bluff, the History Museum hosts their fundraiser over Halloween, and there were other projects, but the villages, to be clear, there are a handful of village-initiated special events, such as the farmers market, which we don't permit. That's a different process. But this does account for most everything we thought, to the greatest degree that we could. And that there's also language in there, you see a new definition for local sponsor. So happy to answer any questions regarding those. And I think as President Charlot said, the goal is to maybe get these in a state to be considered at a formal village board meeting.
So since I wasn't there, I'll ask some dumb questions, even though I've read the meeting minutes. Is that okay? So we had the three options that were listed in there, and then we had a separate discussion about the flagpole, right? And then the special events. Those were two categories, which I'm okay with the flagpole restrictions. And then the special events was the up to 3 days. But what I didn't understand, there was a comment in here about, for the special events, signage. And that's under the signage code. And I wanted to clarify, if someone could clarify those requirements, because I'm thinking of, the bicycle race or something else where the event itself, the physical event, people present or doing something might be 1 to 3 days, but there might be signs up for a week to advertise in advance, hung from light poles. Could someone explain those two things to me? The differences?
And this got touched on a little bit at the last meeting, but there's different procedures in place that the analysis that when Trustee Ryder and Trustee Hatch and I and Peter got together, we thought addressed all of those different aspects.
Okay.
In a way, we used to put signs on the banners. We stopped doing that for practical reasons. People kept walking into them
Signs.
and getting injured.
I'm thinking like from the light posts or something that,
So, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. People
Okay.
would walk into those.
oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and so, but they're each, so during, for a special event application, there is signage that is typically associated with like the bike race. And it's a one-day event. They go up the day of the race and they go down the day of the race.
Okay.
For the Ghost Walk and some of those other events, there's other temporary permitting procedures in the zoning code for that we use.
Okay.
And there's also other, like those triptych signs at the intersection of Green Bay Road and 176, and at the bend in Sharon Road, our southern limits, right by the edge of Lake Forest. Also, there's a different set of rules that we use for those. But
Okay.
we looked at all those and thought they adequately addressed and tried to balance what we've been talking about here in terms of, but they manage separately those are the specific procedures that are working. This is really focusing on when people are using village property,
Right.
most of the time, that's the village green to hold special events.
So as I understood it, the 3 days would allow for if one were to apply for an event at the Village Green, one might apply for the event to occur on Saturday and for signs to go up on Friday at 5 or some particular period of time advertising that the event was coming. That would all be within the event itself. Separate from that are signage regulations that we have that are independent of events.
Temporary permit for temporary signage.
Right.
Okay, so just, let me give you a hypothetical and you tell me how it,
Okay.
I'm just making this up. Let's say the X anniversary of the Boy Scouts.
Okay?
And then we're gonna do a Saturday and Sunday event with, cookout and all that stuff and celebrate it. But they wanted to put signs up in the village saying, a week ahead of time, saying, Boy Scouts on the green, this is coming Saturday and Sunday, and hang some around town. Is that possible, or is that not permitted because it's a special event?
Isn't that under the signage?
Yes,
Lyle?
so
Okay.
there would be, their special event permit that we apply for the 2-day
Right.
duration of the
Right.
event. They can put signage on the village green in association with that special event. They can apply separately for the triptych signs,
Okay,
and then they can also apply separately for another temporary.
okay, so it's possible, they'd have to go through the process.
Yes.
Same with like if the garden club maybe wasn't having an event, but just wanted to celebrate, 30 years of the Lake Bluff Garden Club, and wanted to just put up signs, they could apply for that just to celebrate it without there being an event. I'm just asking hypotheticals here. Sign code.
Yeah, that's all in the sign code.
Okay, was my
And
question.
most of those, the way those things, a lot of those that you described happen on private property. People get those like real
Right,
estate size
right.
signs that say
Okay.
celebrating Lake Bluff youth softball. And
Right.
that's where most of that happens.
Okay, all right, understood.
So we discussed being pragmatic, we discussed two items for about 2 weeks ago. Those were under the discussion topics, page 12 out of 15 of the previous COW PDF. The first thing we discussed was the length and the duration of the event. Okay, that was the first item. The second item was a flagpole, but focusing on the event. We were talking about 1 day, we were talking about 3 days, we were talking about a week, we were talking about a month. And so we went around, of course, trying to get a consensus. What I got was 1 days, for sure, to 3 days per, as an extension or as a permission. And I would like to know what you guys, both of you, think about that.
I think 3 days for a special event is fine, 1 to 3 days.
Okay. Rafi,
I'd like the reduction down from 14 to 1 to 3. I think that's a good compromise.
Okay. I put you on the spot. The consensus we got the last time was 1 to 3 days. 1 day, 2, 3 days was basically the consensus we got to. Okay, so we basically have a consensus on that on the board. Okay.
Yeah, and it's, I think you can probably, if it's, there seems to be, 3 days seems to be okay with everybody. I don't know if 1 day is okay with everybody, but right now, I think this draft has 3 days. So if someone wants to see something different,
President Charlo, question for you. Of
course.
At what point do we ask for community's input and get the local clubs and the local groups' feedback to that? Right now? Okay.
and maybe I can answer that to some degree, that historically, when the village has gone, there has seldom been permit requests for longer than 3 days. And so it's kind of counted on one hand that's ever happened.
Is there, so a question for you, Drew. To your point, Rafi, so a group comes to us and says, we really want to have an event, but it's gonna last a week. So for example, we want to have, I don't know what, display dogs for the next 7 days on the green. Is there a process to go for, or is the 3 days the very much limit as part of that?
No, that's a good question. I think to some degree this was talked about a year ago, and the idea was, let's say, yeah, Formula One comes and wants to hold a race in downtown Lake Bluff. Doubt that would happen, but there would be a long enough leadway that the village board could say, do we want to revisit our regulations in advance to change the code? It would take a code amendment to do this, so 2 readings. That's the way this is set up now.
Okay, so we would be on 1 to 3 days right now with the possibility of, with enough lag, I mean, enough time ahead, we could actually revisit that time, okay?
So I will muddy the waters just a little bit, because that's kind of what I do. So when we say 1 to 3 days, that's as if the shortest amount would be 1 day, which is not the case, right? Somebody might have their event that lasts 4 hours on the village green. They don't need it for a full day. I think we've kind of had 1 to 3 day in there as a placeholder without it intending to be a range. I, for one, would prefer 2 days, just up to 2 days. Could be 1 hour, could be 2 hours, could be 47 hours. But I think we've had 1 to 3 in there as a placeholder. I don't know, we haven't had a lot of debate around that, but when I sit here and think, what is the weekend, you know, what makes sense to me? You know, a 48-hour period is what makes sense to me. That being said, if the consensus of the group is that we want to do up to 3 days, I think we ought to just say what we mean. And what we mean is up to.
That's what it says.
Okay, when we refer to it in discussion, we say 1 to 3, and that's
But it says up to.
Up-
We wrote it up to.
up to 3 days is what we really mean.
Yep.
And I think what we're trying to decide here I mean, we're all really comfortable with one, we're already comfortable with two, and then we think, oh, maybe three. But I think what we just have to face, what we're really saying is up to. What is the limit before we want additional processes to go in place? And I thought that 2 days covered everything we needed it for.
It wouldn't ghost walk.
It wouldn't cover Ghost Walk. Okay, and Ghost Walk would be covered with 3. Is that?
I think it's stretching it to say, because they're gonna wanna set up it after hours and so, just because it's all volunteers doing that and how they set up.
I see.
They're pretty elaborate sets.
Okay, so
So-
3 days, the intent is our intent all along is to go from up to 3 days. Is that,
That's what I'm hearing.
okay,
And so it's a fine distinction, actually, what you're making, up to 3 days, as opposed to what I stayed on the last time, that was 1 day or up to 3 days,
Yeah.
1 to 3 days, but not up to 3 days. So I do appreciate that, and I think this is actually okay.
up to 3 is what we're saying.
Yes.
And if that's the sense of the board, I am fine with it. My proposal would be up to 2, but if we can get to consensus with 3, I am fine with that too. We would have to acknowledge the exception, how exceptions could be made for the 3rd day, I guess. Maybe that's what we're saying. It could be granted as of right for 2 days with an exception for 3 days, and then anything else would take a code amendment. Perhaps that's what we're saying.
Yep. So I'm basically hearing that I have consensus on 3 days, up to 3 days as a verbiage. Okay?
That's okay with me.
Okay, up to 3 days. So we have consensus on up to 3 days.
And then, yeah, there's the clarification, if I may. It says a permit issued under this chapter may authorize a special for up to 3 days, whether on consecutive or non-consecutive days, provided that no permit shall authorize a person or sponsoring an organization to conduct a special event for more than 3 days within a 30-day period. Just to clarify, that was one of those, just to clarify, so that we were like, well, what prevents, the reason we came up with this is what prevents somebody coming in and saying, I want a 3-day permit forever, right? And so just,
Once every 30 days is the notion. Mm-hmm.
you get 3 within 30 days.
Okay. It is too bad we cannot display on the screen, because I would really have wished we could put the this is independent of our ability right now, but I would love the discussion topic, slide 12 out of 15 on the last COW to be projected. For the second thing we need to clarify, that is the possible flag policy issues, and we discussed that the last time, of course. And this is specifically for Brian and Rafi. We went through the room asking, okay, what is your trustees, what is your preference on section 2 of page 12? And the possible flag issues are 2A, that is maintain status quo, 2B, that is adopt status quo flag holiday celebration policy, that means we have what we have today, and 2C, that is adopt a broader flag holiday celebration policy, and we have 2C1, create a process and a standard, 2C2, that is a state or national recognized displays, and 2C3, that is all displays. And that was basically an hour of discussion for the last time. Now, we ended up with people, this is on camera, people have indicated their preferences. I had, and can I go through the preferences for different people?
Sure.
So I had Shayna, yes,
Before you continue, is that what the slide you're referencing in the packet anywhere?
the previous packet. If you go to page 12 out of 15 on the previous COW, and this is if you look on the website, it will be there. This is that slide.
There's also a hyperlink in the memo.
So I'm sorry, there's no display, but that's the one I'm looking at.
I can get copies for everybody if anybody wants a physical copy, but it's in the, if you guys get electronic.
So what we had the last time was Shayna with 2C2, we had Taryn with 2C2, we had Kat with 2B, we had Susan with 2B. I was hovering between 2C1 and 2B. Okay, that was the deal. The basic point is we want the flags in between B and C, 2B and 2C. We want those a status quo on the flags as we have them today, or we want a little bit more than what we have today, but that is where we hover at this point.
2B is now?
No,
2B is now, oh, go ahead.
2B or 2C. We hover in between 2B and
Okay,
2C.
gotcha.
That's what I'm saying, nothing else.
2B is the status quo, but written in policy.
Okay, gotcha,
2C is in a broader policy.
gotcha, gotcha.
And I think Taryn also stated that she hovered in between those two. Was her
B and
actual
C.
stance, Yeah.
I took 2C2. Do you have a record? Drew?
Yeah, my recollection of that was that there were 3 that were in favor of 2B and 2 in favor of,
That's basically where I am, yeah. So we basically have at the very minimum 2B, that would be a possibility, and with a possibility of 2C, 1 or 2 as an extended possibility. That's where we are right now.
So, going back to the signage question, if we stayed status quo, 2B, state, local flags on the flagpole, if someone wanted to, MIA or someone else wanted to display a flag or a banner or something, they could use other ways to display that in town. I'm just saying, could be a banner on the light post, could be some other way, no?
Not on private.
not on village property, yeah. On private property, yes.
Okay, but what maybe I'm drawing a fine distinction here between keeping, you have an option here to expand this, to use the village flagpole. What I'm saying is 2D or something, which is we keep the official flagpole in town for official flags, and we allow, per permission, maybe to use other areas to display different, kind of putting the 2C off of the
That's
official
2C1.
flagpole. And I don't know, legally, maybe it doesn't make any difference because it's all village property, but.
That's 2C1.
They have those areas, so that's what we
Okay.
kind of talked about last time. What are they called? Like Highland Park has one.
Yeah, they're almost public forums,
Where you can
zones.
do something like that, but there become so many issues involved with that we've been coached to steer away.
Okay, all right, that's fine. I'm just asking the question.
No, and to the next, beyond Trustee Hatch's spot on in that those other communities that have had those public forum areas are like, we don't want to do that. Yeah.
They learned.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
And, but the other side of that was, there was a conversation a year ago, like, is it possible that there could be some other property or some other location to create another area where flags could be flown? And I think at the end of the day, that there was nothing ever came to fruition, and that remained all the same issues in terms of it's still village speech if it's village property. And so that kind of got put aside. That is my recollection.
To your point, however, I think that optionality would be provided for in something like C1. What we'd be saying is flagpoles only have government flags, status quo. If you are petitioning the village for something other than the status quo, we had this process on a case-by-case basis. That would be, we would have already sent the message, it's not going to be on the flagpoles, but we have a process in place, which would include our passing on the decision to allow speech on other locations. That puts us back in the soup again, which we really don't want to be in.
Right.
But I think that was the nature of
Okay, all right, I
to
get the legal concern.
C1. All we would be doing on 2C1 is establishing there is an alternative process and leaving it to each board to accept the petitions as they come.
And
So-
people can and do on their private properties put up flags, so.
That's right. But 2C1 would establish a process. Oh, you'd like this? Okay, this is our process. Follow this process. And it nonetheless gets us back here again. It's not,
Right.
anywhere, anybody necessarily wants to be. But it does address these types of issues that you're identifying.
Well, what I'm hearing is Highland Park and other communities went down this route.
Yeah, I mean, they, not just Highland Park, and I mean, a lot of other communities have public parks, village square, places where people express themselves. And it doesn't always, sometimes it's good if people, if it's used responsibly and things, every once in a while, it becomes very controversial, and then there's really nothing at that point you can do about it, because it's a public forum, and you can't pick and choose the message.
And that's the example of Boston, right? That's what you were saying?
Boston was, I mean, yes, that's the example.
But from a
Boston, they just picked and choose, though. It wasn't terribly controversial. It was just they started they rejected one flag after accepting 250 other flags.
Right. But if, to go back to like First Amendment's free speech rights, if
Yeah.
someone wanted to carry a flag down the sidewalk proclaiming something, they're free to do that. What we're talking about is allocating village property to this.
That's right.
Okay. All right. I'm in favor with the status quo.
So to be,
Yeah.
okay.
President
Rafi, please.
Charlo.
Yep.
Can I ask, would the flag policy maintain the same 1 to 3 days, or how long would the flag be flown for?
So I think the way, when this draft was prepared, is that the flags, typically right now, due to the height of our flags, we seldom fly anything other than the American flag. And that's really all that's flown. I guess on occasion, we have flown the state of Illinois flag and the village flag, but our poles are set at such a height that it's difficult to do that without getting caught in trees or shrubbery and so forth. So that is, right here, this policy is written would just be essentially flying the American flag on our photo.
Timeline, time frame. How long would the flag fly for? 30 days, 1 day, 2 hours?
Always, 24/7, 365.
I
The
think,
US flag, and maybe I'm misunderstanding the
Yeah.
question.
If you were to make an exception and have some other flag, what's the limitation? Is that your question?
Oh. Well, Village Attorney Friedman and I talked about the inclusion of having a set of standards by which to consider other requests for other flags, and that presented different problems, and so we
Are you
didn't.
talking about our flags?
If we brought in additional flags, how long would they fly for?
Whatever we wanted. There'd be, I mean, we don't have to include in our flag policy how long we're gonna fly our flags, right? Because it's our speech. We don't have to restrict ourselves. The most important thing is that which flags are we saying we're gonna fly on our flagpoles?
And Rafi, is your question, if we were to expand it under C 1, 2, or 3, what would be the length of time we would expand it to? And I think that's open to debate. I don't think that there is a number here
I mean,
that we
this is our
propose.
speech, right? This is the village speech. We literally choose how long. If it is an MIA flag, we want to fly for the next month. That is our choice, simply enough. What do you think? And I'm referring to the page 12 out of 15, the different possible choice.
Going back to my scouts example, the scouts held a 2-day event on the weekends while on the village green. They held up a pole, temporary, put it on there.
I think where my head's at is still maintaining the status quo, 2A, government flags only. That's where my head's at.
And just to be clear, 2B is also status quo, but it puts it in a policy. And are you objecting to 2B, putting the status quo into a policy?
No,
So, yeah, A and B are the same, just one is written down and the other is not.
I'd be fine memorializing it with a policy.
So 2B, okay. You would be fine. So you said 2A, but now you're saying 2B, right?
That's right.
Okay.
I guess the wording of it was a little
It's
confusing.
it's
for me.
confusing, Rafi, you're right.
Sorry.
I'm being pragmatic, that's why. So basically what we have is, we have consensus on 2B, simple enough, okay? Any last words on the board?
One last question. A year ago, we did talk about adding another flagpole somewhere in the village. Have we continued that thought about that, or is there any interest in that?
No, Peter wants to pay for it still. I'm afraid so.
I think the answer, if I may, was that, as I think trustee Ryder had said, it keeps the village in the soup because it's still village speech.
Yeah.
And so there was, I think, some reluctance to go down that road.
We want to keep it clean, trying to get through this issue, basically. So we have on the board, consensus on 2B. So let's open this conversation to people attending this conversation. So if you want to say a word, please approach the dais and please indicate your name and your address.
Good evening, I'm Jennifer Beeler, 322 Malman Avenue. I was here 2 weeks ago because I submitted an application to have the same event that we held last year with the wrapping of the trees in the green with the colors of the pride flag. I understand that my application is unique because of a number of reasons. It was submitted last year because there was no decision regarding the flag, and someone did, on a personal basis, make that application. There was a flag that was flown in the green. But we took one morning to wrap the trees, and that display, those colors stayed up on the green for approximately 2 weeks. So my application, on behalf of a good segment of people in this town, is to have this event once again, and I understand it does fall outside of the purview of what this board is discussing with a 3-day limitation. I will say, though, it's not like the Ghost Walk. Ghost Walk is something entirely different, but this is something different in the sense of what it represents. And if it is the board's decision that it's 3 days that it stays up, I asked for time, I think it's about 2 hours or so on Sunday morning, June 7th, to do this. If it's 3 days, that's what the village obviously is looking for. If it could stay up longer, again, that would be my ask because of the feeling of what it represents, of a feeling of welcome, a feeling of this is what we represent in the community, and just having it up for a meaningful period of time. If you want to call it signage, you want to call it art, you want to call it something that's heartfelt and joyful and just decorating the village, however you want to view it, but that would be the ask on behalf of a group of people who would like to be able to host this once again this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer.
That was kind of my question, if there's not an event and they want to display something that goes under the signage code? That's what we asked earlier. Again, the Boy Scouts example.
Yeah.
They want to hold a 2-day event or no event, and they just want to Scouts. They want to just have, a week of displaying the anniversary of the Scouts. If they want to wrap a tree, they want to put signs, they want, how, is that under the signage code?
I mean, part of the thing that we discussed was if you have a sign, you can stay with your sign, but once you have an event, you can't just leave your sign there. So your sign
Right.
can't just sit there, you have to be with it.
I agree.
The signage that we were talking about previously was more like advertising for the event. And those are the special codes that Drew's talking about, is my understanding.
Okay, I'm trying to fine tune this.
Yeah, and I think
If you have ribbons up, you have to cut them off. I mean, that's what we said.
Right, but if they had an event celebrating Pride Month, but they did it on a weekend, they picked a weekend to do it,
And they keep
that comes under what we just talked about, which is, that's a special event, and you have to go through the process, and you can put up things on the trees or hang, things. But I'm saying if there is no event and someone wants to celebrate something for a few days, is that the signage code or something else?
So that, it depends where they're asking to put the signs.
Okay,
So private property is one thing, public property is different. So the Village Green, if they wanted to do that and have the pride flag on as part of this event, and they put it on a Saturday, and then they would have what we've been talking about, 3 days, as
Yes,
long
I
as it can be
understand.
up. They could walk away after 2 hours of putting it up at the beginning of day one, but on the third day, it would have to come down. And the reason
Okay.
does
Okay.
that make sense? Do you follow it?
so the event could be 4 hours, but you could have them up for 3 days?
Yes,
Could.
could.
And then, but the idea of, like I said, the garden club celebrating 40 years or 50 years, and they might have an event on Saturday, but they might not. They might just want to put something up on the light posts or around town saying, we're celebrating this. That's a different issue.
It's the same issue if they're going on the Village Green.
But
and
if they're
doing-
not?
If they're doing, on the triptych signs, and you get that sign, those signs are up for 6.5,
So the
6.5 days.
banners are considered.
There's no
events?
banners anymore. There are
No banners. They're done.
They're
Oh,
done,
okay.
yeah.
Gotcha. I'm just trying to,
Yeah.
okay.
And just more information, and it was discussed at the last meeting, and maybe it didn't come through in the minutes, but I think that goes back from other events. There's been multiple events that have happened during a period of time where people, because it was on village property, is that a village function? Is that a village
Understood,
speech?
understood.
And that created confusion.
Okay, to her point, if she wanted to do 3 days, she could apply for an event and
For 3
display
days.
those on the trees.
She can do that. And she can also, every day, 24/7, walk on the village green with the flag,
Right,
holding the
gotcha.
flag or
I
something, right?
gotcha.
That, nothing changes that.
I'm just trying to understand.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you, Brian.
thank you.
Peter White, 400 East Sheridan Place. I'd like to thank the steering committee that undertook this project very, very much for your diligent and constructive approach. You truly took community input to heart, and I found Trustee Ryder's summary at the last committee of the whole to be very constructive, so thank you for that. Difficult to kind of tie that up. I prepared this before the meeting tonight, so you've touched on some of these points, but please indulge me while I reiterate them. Currently, the consensus seems to be a 2 to 3 day event policy as a way to move forward. This, to me, seems to be a very reasonable approach, maintains the community tranquility theme from the public comments, and is consistent with the vast majority of historical precedents. Practically, there should be decorations and signage policy or guidelines within the event policy. What is permissible that promotes the aesthetic appeal of Lake Bluff? There should be clear guidelines to include trees. For example, is it every tree in the village green or just the ones on the parkway? The benches, sidewalks, lampposts, gazebo, fences, signage, which you've touched on, as well as temporary structures. What are the limits to signage and decoration that, as I said, promote the aesthetic that we have in Lake Bluff? Turning to the flag policy, I'm assuming we're talking about the Village Hall flag, the Public Safety Building, and the War Memorial. Some of these, it's been noted, have physical limitations. You'll have to look into that. But my personal feeling is, and belief, is that cause and recognition flags shouldn't fly on these poles. Only government flags should be flown following the U.S. flag code. So here's my solution. The installation of a new flagpole for government speech on the village green for causes and recognition, and limiting the duration of flight of those flags to 14 days to avoid what I call monopolization. Thank you for your hard work, and if you have questions, I'm happy to answer them. I'm still not clear personally what 2B means, but maybe as the examples, as we hear some examples, it'll become clear, because 2A and 2B, can I ask a question? 2B is status quo, which is doing nothing more than we're doing right now. And plus,
Just making it a policy, because right now, 2As, we're just no policy, kind of winging it, and 2B memorializes it.
Yep. It will be as a,
oh,
it will be in our
it
code.
codifies it.
Yeah, codified it, right.
Okay, so if the Boy Scouts want to fly a flag at City Hall, do they apply a permit or no?
No, it won't apply.
No flags?
Just the government ones.
Okay. So the option of installing a separate flagpole on government property that is government speech is not under consideration.
No, because it would become our government speech, village speech.
Right.
Yeah, but
Okay.
understand, if the Boy Scouts put in for a 1 to 3 day event, and they go out in the middle of the green, stick a Boy Scout flag as part of the event, go for it.
Yeah,
3
That's
days.
their pole, their
Right.
event,
right. It
So-
falls under the event.
yeah.
That's fine. That's good.
And if they do it for 4 hours, and then they leave
That's
the
fine, too.
flag up for for 2 days,
Yep.
they're cool too.
As a Eagle Scout, we don't leave our garbage behind. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Peter, can I ask you a question? You talked about your opinions for decorations and ribbons. Was that from like a safety standpoint, or is that from a aesthetics standpoint?
I think the village probably has sufficient safety standards in place. Presumably, theoretically, something could get out of hand, which I think at that point the village would step in. I'm not so concerned about the aesthetic element if it's 2 or 3 days. Listen, we live with leaf blowers and we live with all kinds of stuff, contentious issues. I mean, that's reasonable. But if we're allowing 30 days for displays and decorations, other than the traditional holiday elements, then I think that is something that the board should take into consideration. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I was just looking to understand. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Peter.
you all.
And they
All right.
won't select them.
So I guess this closes this item. We have one more item to discuss tonight. All in agreement? Thank you.
So that'll be on the agenda next meeting, both of those items.
So our next item is item 4C, a discussion regarding an intergovernmental agreement with the Lake Bluff Park District concerning pickleball, I said the word, pickleball people, pickleball courts at Argent Parks. Drew?
So the cover memo explains how we got here in the process. And President Charlo and I met with Executive Director John Beeler and Paul Greenfield, the Park Board President, and went through a draft agreement, which is included in the packet. And then the village attorney and I went through it and made some modifications. And before we sent it back to them, just want to make sure, one, everybody saw it, and two, if they had any questions about it. And there were some issues in there talking about making sure the timing a little different. It would probably emphasize cleaning up what's at Blair Park first, making sure that those pickleball courts, which are still painted there, on the tennis courts, get returned to tennis courts, and that and then that this really allows for a 24-month period for them to act on the agreement. I think if there's anything maybe you guys want to discuss, I thought maybe one thing would be what would be some of the improvements. For example, one of the earlier conversations I had with John Beeler was like, was the village willing to pay for like cleaning up things at Blair Park? Like, did you want to help repaint the courts there? Would that be something that you would count as something you would fund? Or the answer is no, you would only look at the new improvements, the new capital improvements at Artesian and the expansion of that. So those are just some of the finer details, but if you have questions, happy to answer any of them.
So there's a red line agreement in here, and then there's one that's not,
The clean version is what the park district submitted to the village. And then I had a conversation with the
I
village
see.
council, and we reworked the agreement to the red line, which is probably
to the red line.
difficult to read.
Okay. Okay, so the one that is earlier, that has no redlining in it is what they're proposed. And then the red and blue, the one that appears in
Yep.
red and blue is what we would be
Sending back to them.
sending back to them. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's helpful.
What were the hours of operation again?
That, I will, that's specific, and I have to go back to, that goes back to their Rio approval. Pickleball courts may not be used from 8 PM to 8 AM Monday through Saturday, and from 4 PM to 10 AM on Sundays.
Okay. Okay. And the lighting?
No lighting.
Right, no lighting. The $100,000 that the grant that we're putting together, does that include waiving of permit fees?
It doesn't, but I think historically, the village has done that when requested for improvements,
Right.
facilities, certainly
I'm
within the
just
village's
asking the
corporate
question for
limits.
everyone.
Yeah, yeah.
Because
So I think,
that's a nice contribution for a decent-sized project.
Yeah.
The village is very generous.
Yeah.
I think so you put forward a question to the board that is, does that only apply to the new facility, or do we include in that grant the cleaning up the old facility and propping the new facility as becoming pickleball courts? And you also have in that COW write-up is, what about if the park district comes back to us and says, well, we didn't spend $100,000, we spent $120,000. What do we do? What is the feeling on the board on that?
My personal feeling is 100,000 is generous, and that waiving of fees and 100,000 is as much as I'd be willing to vote for.
Okay,
I agree.
concur? Same, so we have consensus on, this is the grant is $400,000.
Unfortunately, we have lots of things we could pay for. The library is just a start, so I think we have extended all we can extend here.
And we also have a pipe to pay for anyway, so.
Yeah.
The one thing is, so the extent to that grant, that is, are we paying for the move, that is a new facility, or are we paying for, also, are we allowing for remediation and remarking the tennis court into tennis courts, for example, at Blair Park?
Right now, maybe I don't understand the question.
If you go over to Blair Park, the park district stopped users from playing pickleball there because of the noise issues. But the facilities themselves, the last I saw them, still have the pickleball courts marked out on them. And so the idea of, do they paint over that to make it look like a tennis court, or is it still gonna have actually the facilities which they could move back? Not that they would.
Okay,
But the
that's what I
idea
was-
is to,
okay.
that came up between the conversation with John Beeler and I, is that, would the board consider paying for those improvements, is it only just the new? So that's the question.
I thought somewhere in here that there was an obligation to change it back within 12 months, even
Right,
though,
the question is, was the village board willing to help pay for that or not? Or does the village board only want to focus the 100K towards the new improvements and say the park district has to meet its obligation as this IGA spells out to get that done quickly? Or does the board want to contribute to that as well?
But exclusive of the, because we just said we didn't want to give more money, so you mean we're.
Within that 100K, how they want to
Okay.
spend it,
It is within that boundaries, yes.
that, yeah, that's a distinction without a difference,
Yeah.
really, as far as I'm concerned. It's irksome, however, to be paying for undoing what was done illegally. So,
that's why I asked the question. Sorry.
So it makes makes little difference financially, but I prefer to pay for the new than the old, than undoing the old, but it's not a hill I'm going to die on.
If there's some left over, doesn't it go to the other anyway? Or
It's
there's
up
not
to
going
you. It's up to you. You could say it's only for new up to 100. And if they spent 80, then that was it,
But
right?
the remediation is required?
I'm sorry?
Was the remediation or the covering up, was that required?
Was in
This
here.
agreement says it is required. This agreement says they shall do it actually earlier than improving the other courts.
I don't really care how they use 100,000 then.
Okay.
I mean,
Rafi?
I think if we've committed the 100 grand, we should give them up to that, and they can use it however they want.
I agree.
Okay. Good enough.
Okay, consensus?
Yep.
Consensus on the board? Okay, thank you.
That's it. So I'll run that back. You and I can take it back to, or else deliver it to John Beer.
Okay. All
Who's
right.
also a member present. You don't have to get back. I'm not expecting you to.
No, it's just I didn't know I was a 2-for-1 tonight.
Bonus round.
But thank you, as we have the Facilities and Programs Committee as well as the Parks and Recreation. Thank you for putting this on the agenda.
Could I please have a motion for adjournment, please?
So,
Second. Sorry.
So it's a voice vote, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Thank you, and we are adjourned. Let's get back together at 7 PM.
Recording stopped.